The Huawei Mate 40 was one of the most highly praised but never recommended series by many reviewers, all because of the lack of Google services. But has this Google ban made this phone completely impractical to use? I'm here to tell you it doesn't, and why I love this phone even more. Let's get the boring stuff out of the way. The design has aged very well, it is very well built, and feels excessively luxurious in the hands. The Kirin 9000 SoC is super snappy and supports 90Hz refresh rate on the gorgeous 6.76-inch display without breaking a sweat. The stereo speakers are the best I've ever heard, with surprisingly good amount of bass. The 4400 mAh of battery could last me around 2 days depending on how aggressively I use it. Then it could be topped up in around half an hour using the 66-watt fast charger. Pretty standard nowadays. The Leica camera could produce some really sophisticated photos, but some could be too exposed for my taste, especially in night mode in well-lit cities. My device has gone through EMUI 11 and 12, no Harmony OS sadly, and both UI feels very snappy, stable, consistent, and packed with flagship features. Fingerprint sensor is snappy and accurate, and the Face ID works sideways. I also like the air gestures to perform certain controls, in case you can't use your fingers, and it is much more practical than you think. Speaking of practicality, if you have a Huawei computer, you could link your phone up through NFC, much better than link to Windows with Samsung, as there is no need to sign in or being in the same network. I love the built-in movie editor app where I could edit videos with its comprehensive list of features. Something could be done on Samsung Note series devices before they all changed to One UI. Speaking of Samsung, the Huawei Mate 40 Pro also supports a stylus. The M Pen 2 has a nice weight to it, and writing accuracy is spot on. Sadly, the feel of writing is anything but authentic, with hard plastic hitting on glass. And there are next to no additional software features to enhance the experience or its capabilities. Hey Celia is Huawei's own voice assistant, and it is not as advanced as Siri or Google Assistant. It refers most of your questions to the internet, and it activates itself by mistake a lot more frequently than others. But I will give it some slack since Huawei was forced to create this in the first place. However, I cannot tolerate its haptics, which feels really cheap, almost like low-end budget smartphones. I have made a video about the Google ban in the past, and how to obtain apps from third-party and official websites. But what is it really like to daily drive this phone without Google Service Framework? In short, it is inconvenient at best and not as problematic as reviewers say. This is because I mainly rely on Microsoft and Facebook apps, and they work flawlessly. And I use as many alternative apps and services instead of Google as possible, including mail and navigation. Only YouTube is where I have to use workarounds like G-Space to reliably access their dedicated features. So, if you stay away from Google Apps as much as I do, your experience would be largely unaffected, only a little bit different. The Huawei Mate 40 Pro is a well-designed phone that provides flagship hardware and software performance. And the Google ban has only helped Huawei to mature and expand their ecosystem further by developing more competent apps and features. If you ever hesitated about buying Huawei phones because of the Google ban, stop worrying and start exploring new apps and services.